Hi, I'm Victoria, or Vicky, Head of Audiences at Shakespeare North Playhouse. So I am a female, white female in their mid-30s. I have long brown hair, and today I am wearing a leopard print top. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how we use audience spectrum as a catalyst and a tool for our audience development strategy. So Shakespeare North Playhouse, if anyone doesn't know, is based in Prescott. We are just under 3 years old, so we're going to celebrate our third birthday in July. And we are the first arts organisation venue in Knowsley. So there's been other arts organisations, but they've never had an arts venue. Prescott is within the top 2 most deprived areas in the country. So we've got a very specific purpose of being built for regeneration and culture for change. So many social impact objectives that we have to deliver on, but also, like everyone else, I think in the room, huge revenue targets alongside that. So it's always about giving them both equal importance. So for us, why did we start using audience segmentation and the audience spectrum? Well, as a new organisation, we needed to align our efforts so we were all working towards the same goals. What we found that everyone came in and we were all on the same page with why we wanted to work at Shakespeare North, but we were all doing different things to try and get there. So every new project was a new starting point for audiences. Every project was, loads of projects were aimed at social impact, but then where was the revenue coming from? So it was a space to talk about challenges for each department and start becoming a data-led organisation, so we weren't always working on assumption. So what we decided to do was bring together a regular working group, and this will have representation from all departments at all levels. So it wasn't just the marketing team or an audiences team, it was absolutely everyone: programming, front of house, fundraising, and there is representation from everyone in there. And we booked in some meetings that were every 6 weeks, so it didn't feel too overwhelming, but we made sure they were in the diary. And where we started was we got everyone in a room and we asked them what audience development and audiences meant to them. What was the golden thread of why we were all here? What were we all trying to achieve? And how could we create a language and an understanding where we were all on the same page and there wasn't that friction between, well, I've programmed this because it's for this audience, but we don't have that audience in our database. But what even is that audience? We're talking about people in their 30s. And it was kind of, how do we get a language where we're talking a little bit more specifically, but all on the same page and all working towards the same golden thread of being here for regeneration. So we then started by looking at those assumptions, because I think everybody has assumptions. They are sometimes right, sometimes really far off. But we all go to them as our comfort place, and not everyone loves data. Not everyone is a data-led person or feels they can understand it or visualize it. So we asked everybody to bring their own assumptions on a particular project, and then we matched it against the data to start challenging people in their ways of thinking and going, well, you assumed that, but the reality was this. And sometimes they were right, and sometimes we were very far off. And I think it really helped us understand what we'd done over the last couple of years and what projects had delivered in terms of audiences. So we then looked at all the data tools that we do have, and I think everyone's probably in the same boat. There are lots of them. There is so much raw data. Even as a mid-scale organisation without a data team, we have all this raw data, but what do you do with it? And you can dip into each bit, here, there, and everywhere. My team who are doing the campaigns, lead on the campaigns, they can often go, oh, we can look at the feedback from there, or we can do this, or we can pull that. And we needed to find something that brought that all together so that we weren't flitting from place to place, and we could have a really nice structured approach to who are we targeting, why are we targeting, and what are we targeting them with. So we basically began with audiences at the heart of everything. And data can often be a really challenging subject in an organisation where you have a lot of empaths, creative people who want to talk about people's emotions and behaviours and feelings towards work and programme and what they get from it in a more, in a less tangible way than we've had. X people from X postcode of X age come in. And I think the audience agency's audience spectrum, segmentation, when it is audience spectrum, I always get those words all muddled up, is really useful because it allows everybody in the organisation to talk with a similar language and to feel like they understand and to feel like they can visualise a person that they're programming for, targeting, or wanting to talk to. So that's where we started. And the audience agency came in and gave us a wonderful workshop to help everybody understand audience segmentation, to help us look at it in such a broad, with such a broad lens. Like, what is the population segmentation in our immediate area versus our database? Because for us, there's no blueprint. We've not been here for 10, 15, 20 years. We've literally done 2.5. So it's really hard to pull on anything from anybody else. There's no venue similar to us in the area. The area is very unique in terms of its population segmentation. So where do we start, really? And the audience agency really helped us with that. And we've been tagging our data, and this is what it showed us. So that core don't ignore is something that we have really lent into, and it's the revenue generation. And it's really hard in an organisation that has so many social impact objectives, which are so important and so valuable. But there is also that flip side of generating revenue, and we can't ever let that slip. So this was our way of, as a marketing team, of going, you need to help us here, because this core don't ignore is exactly where we're going to generate our revenue and where we need to put a lot of time, effort and resource. What we also found, and that for us is dormitory dependables, trips and treats. We focus more on the dormitory dependables. The opportunity is all of those frontline families within a 30-minute drive time, which we are just not targeting at the moment. We're not programming for them. We're not reaching out to them in any specific ways within our campaigns. And there are a lot of them. And that is a huge opportunity for us. So that's where we're going to develop our audiences that can also possibly generate revenue, but just get them in. That's who we're here for, those frontline families. And then when we look really closely at the L34 postcode data, which is Prescott, really, really tight Prescott data, supported communities are particularly high in the population segmentation. And that is our why. That is our unique point as to why we're here, what we've been put here to do and deliver. And all our social objective work really sort of feeds into that supported communities area. And we know that that is the least engaged segment in all the segments. We know it's hard work, but that's where our engagement work comes in. And that's where we can focus really heavily all of that engagement work, social impact. And it allows us across the teams to say, which area are we targeting at the moment? Which these 3-4 strands for us at this moment in time, why are we targeting them? How are we targeting them? So that we don't focus all our work, which we'd love to. We'd love to focus absolutely everything on supported communities and deliver so much for the community here. But the flip side is we have to generate revenue. And sometimes that is one of the most difficult conversations to have across an organisation, when you've got programmers and engagement teams who are so passionate about delivering for the local community, which we all are. But then you've really got to generate some revenue. So you've got to get some of those dormitory dependables in. The audience agency have been brilliant. There's so many free tools. We don't have a big budget. I don't think many people have big budgets to spend loads of money on everything. And we tag our data and we lean into all of those free tools. And the entire organisation leans into those free tools. And the entire organisation outside of the audiences team has been to tea breaks, has looked at the motivation guides, has read through the audience development plan. Because for me, even though I have the title head of audiences, I'm not the only one responsible for audiences. Audiences are the responsibility of an entire organisation. And an entire organisation should put audiences at the heart of all their decisions. And this is something that's been a really sort of key factor in doing this workshop process as a team. So once we've got our population segmentation, we've started to look at what that means much more specifically in terms of SMART objectives, and we can become a lot more detailed. And I would say, again, I think I keep saying it, but it's not just about ticket transactions and sales. This audience spectrum for us feeds into what's the creative, what are we programming, what's our educational offer, what's our experiential offer, what's our social offer, the financial offer in terms of what's free, what can we charge a bit more for, how can we dynamically price based off audience segmentation and who those products are aimed at. And then we're going to start moving into using the population segmentation to create SMART objectives. There's just a few examples there that we're playing about with. What we're asking is that every department brings multiple SMART objectives, and then we can distill them down as a group into what we want to focus on for the next 3 years. And then we can move on to what's the 3 years after that, and so on and so forth. And then the metrics, Spectrix, as you can see, is going to come in very useful when we want to start saying, this is what we've delivered and how and why. And for us, it's a shared language, not only within the organization, but for board reports. It really helps you do a show-by-show benchmarking exercise against how the segments are growing, why they're growing. And then you can also benchmark it against population data. So that means for us, when we're talking to the council, we can say, well, we know that our population is X and we're delivering X for X. And then within that, our database can start reflecting who is outside of our walls. And our next step is to do a shared action plan, because we're going to write it all down, have action owners, and the team are going to use all of those wonderful tools that we've just been shown by Spectrix to integrate it into Digital. It means that they have a really clear language with programmers as well. So when a programming colleague might be saying, can you just target X? They can go, which segment is that? Why are we doing that? Who is that for? So it just starts becoming this shared language and understanding, which hopefully, I would hope, eliminates some of the friction between I'm doing this for this and I'm doing this for this, even though we've all got the same goal. So yeah, to summarize everything, we hope that it will achieve a shared language, a shared responsibility, and a clear correlation between our day-to-day operations and our broader impact, and how we talk about that and the social impact we have on our communities. Yeah, so do I hand back to you now, Nancy?
Yeah, no, I was just going to, yes, please. Thank you so much, Victoria. That was an absolutely excellent case study. I think it's so heartening when you see someone take a tool like this and run with it and create this thing, which is clearly kind of driving a real sense of purpose across the organisation and really helping you do a really good job of what you're doing.